Hi everyone, so I hope everyone's well. Today we're going to go through a few things. Actually, the more I've tried to see things on this case, the more I've taken notes of red flags, but I've tried not to dive too deep into it. So those of you that are following the Suzanne Morphew case and have been, you probably have a lot of the answers that I might ask. I'm going to be asking Tarot a few questions. I presume that a lot of people like what's happening, when is a big bang going to go down, what's taking so long. And I have some questions along that, but I think there's some clarity as well that I'd like to provide. I think I mentioned them in the first two readings. If you've not caught them out, part 1 and part 2. And so hopefully I'll get through this one as well, part 3. So we're going to look at barrymorphew's plea. Actually, just before I get to that, I was mentioning that, in the part 1 and part 2, they have to be 100% convinced. Otherwise, they only have really what they had prior when they arrested Barry. Remember, this for entertainment purposes only. Use your own fact finding. Law enforcement are there to prove whoever's guilty. Everyone's innocent until proven guilty. So I'm going to touch base on that as well. Well, first we're going to look at Barry's plea. One of the things that I looked at after part 1 and part 2 to get a bit more on the case. I'm also going to look at a note that was left in a shop, and also the bike. The bike that was found first on the same day she was reported missing. That did not mean, and we saw from the reading that I did, that it wasn't the same sort of timeline as her going missing, but I did mention the key timings of things during that day. So it could have passed the 12, but yeah, so they found her bike and it took Barry hours to get back, which was a bit weird. And have you noticed in most of the cases recently or still pending, a lot of people that call the 911 are not actually the people that are kind of being questioned? So I found out that he'd asked the neighbour to call 911. That's what I'm aware of. But that just rang a bell because it's similar to a lot of cases at the moment. And the other thing is obviously the bike. I mentioned in part 1 and 2, or one of them, about I was really getting a lot around, was it tampered evidence, or is that what I'm bringing through now? Something about evidence that I feel also the defence has a strong point on. So for example, the bike, the police officer at the night was kind of a bit peed off that Barry was touching the bike. But the person who found the bike from law enforcement earlier that day when there was daylight was sat touching the bike. I was so shocked when I saw that. No gloves, no nothing. He picked up the bike and that's where he took it. So really, all things aside, you can't be pissed off at someone else touching the bike, can you? Because it seems like there's at least 2 DNA's fingerprints on that bike. I presume there's more than 2, actually. I really do think there's more than 2. Like, I don't know, Paul, the Ellie found it and called so-and-so, because he wouldn't have been alone. Totally. I was absolutely shocked at that. The professionalism was terrible. So I think there's other stuff that's probably been tainted. I also want to discuss something that I'm getting around, maybe bullets and stuff like that. And also, obviously, the autopsy. I did mention that there's still no cause of death, which makes me think of things around what is being held back, but also, are they able to link it directly with who has done this? And something else about, did the person who did this So did the person who did this think that after some time, it's highly unlikely that in a toxicology report the tranquilizers used would still be there? They were obviously hit either in the lower back's very dangerous, maybe in the femur. I think they tend to go to like the thigh area, but it must have been quite close to the bone and not just in a surface level muscle. The other thing is they mentioned scattered bones, but I don't know why. When I think of scattered, the word fragmented also comes in. And so were the bones more or less fragmented as opposed to the normal size we would think they were at, because her DNA was known through her teeth. So I wonder if there was fragments of larger bones that obviously you can piece them together, but the bone is not necessarily together. But still there's no cause of death. There's the homicide mentioned and by the tranquilizers, but there's no cause of death. So what was the cause of death? There's some other things that I've got noted, and I'm going to also ask the tower some of the things that I've been getting downloads in. Obviously, one key question that could be, have you been chasing chipmunks since, is it 2020 or 21? I forget. And also, I looked up how fast chipmunks move, and us at humans were around 8 miles per hour. So this is how fast we can go. Chipmunks are 21 miles per hour. You're not going to be able to shoot something that small or even chase something that small. It's absolutely ridiculous of a question, of like an answer. So that's something else. But there are red flags, and let's get into it. Let's see what we piece together. And I think there's going to be, if I look into it further, I think there's going to be more and more. But we have to also stay away from what could be allegations. So I think there was an employee who was asked to leave or got rid of, and therefore what they may state might just be allegations through things. Obviously it can be legitimate, but I try to bring psychic channeling through and then tarot just as a tool of vision, because I don't usually have the camera on. And secondly, like forward facing. And then secondly, I try to bring facts. You know, I'm a very factual person. I have the background of that sort of stuff as well. So I'm not just woo-woo, but obviously the channeling and the psychic comes through either through the tarot. So I'm not a tarot reader at first level as a number one. I don't. So there's some readers and psychics that use the tarot to tell the story. I channel through the tarot, or I channel separately through psychically. But let's get into this.
Oh, Suzanne, if anyone is out there that can hear this, that has you, please, we'll do whatever it takes to bring you back. We love you, we miss you, your girls need you. No questions asked, however much they want. I will do whatever it takes to get you back. Honey, I love you, and I want you back so bad.
Now, just before we go on to the bike, in the full appeal, I saw he takes a deep breath and then kind of exhales, and it feels like a burdensome. I'm not saying she was burdensome, but it seems like he's carrying a burden. So that struck me. And this is the body cam of finding the bike.
Suzanne?
Now, firstly, that bike is quite on a hill. No one can bike like that. Look at all that bush and grassy stuff. And look how steep it is. Who bikes up there? That just does not make sense. Even if somebody was to abduct her and they just took her and threw the bike, they've got to find her on that hill, right? So above that hill, is there a paved walk, sort of a paved way to bike? And then her bike's fallen down. That's the only thing, but I don't think it is. And I think this is just ridiculous how that is placed. Unless, like I said, above at the top there, where we can see in that corner where there's the axon body, there's the date and the time, the 10th of May 2020, the same day she was reported missing. At the top there, you can see like the where the 5 is, you can see that that's the top or something, or it's a bit of a steep and then it gets mountainous again where we can't see where it heads up. But that's the only thing I can say, is that there's a paved way up there, and then that's where something happened, allegedly. Let's just see. Let's just put everything out there. We know what we believe, so. And then her bike is just flung down. But if it's all that kind of groundedness and her bike like that, that just looks really weird. And the helmet was found somewhere else.
Somebody checking on it. Can you try to call my husband and see that second bike she has? Right now I'm staring at the cruise movie coming.
See him touching it. I just can't believe it when I saw that. And then the helmet is found somewhere else. So does that guy touch it? I mean, he puts his foot on the pedal, but it doesn't look like he touches it so far. There is paved way, because look, there's cars there, but it's quite far down. So there is cars at the top, there is a paved way, but it's not even flung down on the edge off the road as if someone abducted her and so the bike just fell, or they threw the bike. This is quite further down, isn't it? Which makes it even more strange, because she's not going to bike that far down. No one's going to wheel the bike that far down. And I don't think with all that bushy stuff that even if they pushed the bike, it would get that far down, looking like that as well. So big concerns over this bike. I'm sure you've seen it. And at the night time, when Barry comes back, he touches it, and the police officer seems to be like, yeah, about touching it, talking to someone else. But hello, your own people have touched it. And this is what I was mentioning that was coming through and reading 1 or 2 about evidence, and the defense will have possibly an argument that they're going to take around this because there's tampered DNA for clarity here. And I wonder if there's anything else. So the next part is the note that was left in a store or a shop by Barry. And just focus and look at what it says and look at the handwriting. Now, having watched the trial, not the trial, I was actually just thinking I've got to complete a recording that I started for Corey Michello's case. Sorry about that. And I also want to do a follow-up on Sebastian. It might be, if I get time, it might be today and then up at the same time as this. So let's see. If you're following any of those cases or your tarot readings, let me know in the comments. And also maybe spread the word on this one because, you know, maybe people feel there's repetitiveness, but obviously there's a stalling in the case for reasons. So if you saw the appeal, not the trial, the appeal of barrymorphew, did you catch after the first sentence that sort of deep inhale and exhale? I felt like the exhale was very much kind of like, it reminds me of the Ten of Wands energy in the tarot. Let me just see if I can pull it up from this classical Rider-Waite tarot deck. And it just, it doesn't feel like heavy grief. It just feels as though the heaviness of the exhale is there, but not in truth. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's kind of like someone who's showing it's heavy, but I don't really feel his energy is heavy. And I can't, even if it's fake energy, even if it's, there's an involvement there, somebody's energy can be heavy with guilt. And I just don't feel the heaviness there. I feel like he's done that plea and he's just got on with his day. Now, again, everyone is innocent until proven guilty. But the exhale, I feel, is kind of like, this is what I got from it. I didn't get like a broken Three of Swords energy. And I don't want to have to go through the whole thing. But, in the tarot, if you watch tarot readings, the Three of Swords is the heart with the three swords in it, or you've got the Ten of Swords, which is the ultimate sort of betrayal, and this is very heavy, but it's kind of like being weighed down extremely at this point of a burnout. And I didn't feel that, but I feel like the exhale was like he's got that heavy burden, and obviously it's knowledge of even knowledge, but from my readings, and I think everyone knows now, it's from him. Don't understand how people get to the point of, see that one, it wasn't even that energy. It was just an exhale of, And also I don't see grief in his eyes at all, you know. And I'm not just saying this, if you watch my readings, if you're a subscriber, you know this, that, I mean, look at the Sebastian Rogers case. I said so much of what's panning out, even around the PIs and the private investigators, and I got slated for that. I got a lot of trolling. I wish I kept the comments, because those people will know that I was right. But I just removed them. And have I passed the Three of Swords? This is what I'd feel would maybe come through in an appeal of losing your wife, not knowing where your wife is. But it's the energy of this one instead. And his energy, there's no grief in his energy. So it's also quite, why am I want to say in position that it's in, I mean, when they do the appeals, they can have as many runs at the appeal as they wish to have. And I don't know why Spirit's just told me to check that this is recording, although I checked before I started and I do in a test run, so just bear with me a moment. Yes, we are. Okay, so I actually, you know, when I say feel, it's also tapping into my psychics. I think the helmet was planted later. I understand the helmet wasn't too far from the bike. The bike was found early before, and then the helmet, and I don't know if it's a day or two or a few days after the helmet was found, but I don't think it was far off, where actually the actual Suzanne's remains was further out, wasn't they? There were like 40 miles, or it's like 45 minutes away. And no one who abducts or is, unless it's an abduction and they're going back to their hometown, but what are they doing in that area? It won't be an area you would feel like it's a right place to abduct. It's definitely someone that knows her, and obviously we probably know the likelihood. So why is this taking such a long time? Now, they found clothes with her remains. And did they find a bullet as well? So a couple of things there. I think I did mention, I believe, that Suzanne was moved. Before being placed there, she was placed somewhere else. And then her clothes, I guess is saying that they might not be biking clothes. They're not the professional biking clothes that she normally wears, or the biking clothes she normally wears. But is the DNA on the clothes? There's an explanation that needs to be given to us around the DNA that was found in her car of another person, which they're saying is a couple of offenders that could be linked to other cases. What is that about? That's a bit strange. I mean, did she have work done on her car? There's got to be an explanation around that can't just be brought up and said. And when I was watching one clip of an interview, Barry was with either a podcaster or someone, I can't remember what it was. He was talking about the case, and at this time Suzanne was still missing. And he was like, yes, and the bike was just... And it was kind of like how he stopped himself, and it was sort of like, how did he know? I got that feeling. I can't remember the full context of it, but that was a red flag for me. And obviously these things right now, so because he's been arrested without prejudice, released, they have to have something more. Now they have, what do we know? They have more. There could be more in the background that they have. It definitely took a long time for the toxicology report to come out. Was it 6 months? And so I'm getting brought back by spirit to the helmet. So I said I believe the helmet was planted after. So even looking at the note that I put just before this is getting a bit scattered because I'm doing what I want to say, but then spirit's interrupting me. So let's just step back to where I was. DNA on the clothes, possibly a bullet. So if this person has hit the tranquilizers and more or less really felt that maybe there could be, you know, in the first tarot reading I got that she was slowed down, but she really had the desire to fight back. And I believe at first she was fighting back. There was a bit of like commotion between them and movement. But then obviously as you're hit with it and after a bit as it comes into your system, you have that urge, but then you're slowly slowed down until you're totally slowed down. And so I probably don't think he would have thought that if she would be found, those will still be in her system. Because her bones were found. And maybe he didn't think that that would be possible. And therefore, if he had that thought of, could this be possible? Would he actually leave the bullet with the remains? And how do we know her remains were, like, clothes weren't just dumped with her remains and she wasn't actually without clothes? I don't know why I'm getting that right now as well. She might have been wearing clothes, but then clothes might have got DNA. Those have been taken off and then other clothes have been placed with her when her body was moved, if you understand what I'm saying, because of DNA. And so someone's really thought about this and thought about the tranquilizers and etc. And I think it's just because they know a lot about tranquilizers, not necessarily because it's somebody who has researched, done their analysis, etc. But that bullet, if it wasn't shot and still within a bone, there is a weapon somewhere. And I'm getting there's another bullet somewhere, and I don't know if that's just like a bullet lying around that could have been at the house or something like that. And also with the bullet, there's no mention of the type of gun that could have been used, the weapon that could have been used holding the bullet. There's no mention, did the bullet go through a bone? Is there a rupture, or is there damage to the bullet? Is it just, does it look like it wasn't actually fired off? And so was it just placed there? Because what we can see when I think of the helmet being placed after, and I think that's what occurred, is that there is thought of stuff. And I don't know why I'm going into a deep meditative state, but there is thought around stuff. And I was getting to something there. I'm really, really sorry when I open the channel and things can come through. I've lost my chain of thoughts. But there is definitely there is what's going to link this is the DNA. Is like, was the bullet shot? If it wasn't, and it was just a bullet, they don't believe that was used. And then in my next reading, I think I might go down to see what was the cause of death, because that's not been announced either. That's being withheld. Now, this could be because they don't have the full evidence, because if they've got the full evidence to link it beyond what they've got. Now, if we had everything in line that they arrested him for, and I might look into the affidavits of his arrest. If you're interested in that, we can look into that in the statements. But Yeah, I keep getting brain blocks here. I was going into something, and again, it's really strange because normally I'm just flooded with stuff, but instead now information's being taken as soon as I'm trying to channel. Yeah, so he was arrested for, remember the disclaimer at the bottom of the screen as well as in the description boxes, for entertainment purposes only. He was arrested, and so what do we have additionally, according to what we know factually, is that her remains have been found. We've had no DNA. We've had, I think they mentioned there's a bullet in her clothes. No DNA on the bullet and clothes. Like I said, when I said scattered, I keep getting the word fragmented and also fabricated. Fabricated, so that could be the case. That could be the placing of the bullet in the clothes. Fabricated stuff. The thing here is also where I mentioned in the first read I did, I felt there was tampered evidence, and we got, that's what I just mentioned with the bike, that it was true. And so how much can we really rely on what comes through? It needs to be less on the LE, but the forensics, the actual factual forensics team and stuff to really state. And so if there was a bullet that was fired, it's shown that it's fired. Maybe they were just taking a little bit more time to see if there is a bone that is fractured by a bullet, or if they can understand what actually happened. But there's nothing significant, because they knew about him using tranquilizers for animals prior. The only thing now, it links it a bit more evidential that somebody tranquilizers was used. And I think that links him a little bit more, but then where's his DNA in this case? And that's what we need to know. Are they holding back on that? They're holding back because there's something not 100% linked. If they had everything like the DNA, cause of death they could determine, and etc., they're not going to hold back if they could directly link it. But now it seems like they've got a bit more information, I would say more than what we actually know, but there's still missing information. And that's around proof of facts, and I think it's going to be around DNA, the cause of death, etc. And again, the DNA of somebody else's in the car also opens kind of an area for the defense to fight, basically. So what I wanted to ask here is, it's quite obvious the bike was planted if he was a person who did it, which I get in my readings, but I don't believe they were planted at the same time. If we look at that note around the helmet and the bike, it says baby blue helmet in capitals, and then below it in just one first letter, I believe, is capital, the clothes are mentioned. So it's kind of like you can pay your attention to the capitals, the baby blue helmet, because it's okay for you to find that. But the less irrelevant apparently is the clothes, and her clothes was found with her remains. So we don't want you to pay too much attention to that. Whatever, the clothes are insignificant. And that's really, because he's writing on that, the way he's done it is really, I think it's another red flag. It's just strange. You wouldn't do it like that. You might start off capitals and then realize, oh crap, I've done the first word or word in capitals, and you continue doing capitals. But it's like two separate things that are, and there's quite a large there's a large gap between them. It's not like an enter gap, it's like two enter gaps. So you have enough time to realize that I've done that in capitals, I'm going to do this in capitals without planning, but you realize that, oh, I've wrote this in capitals, I'm emphasizing it because obviously of the loss. So what I'm going to do now is, let's do a current check-in on Barry. I actually wanted to do another I wanted to do another deck. I don't have it beside me, so we're going to do it from this deck. Let's just do his current check-in. I just want to make sure we're all upright, or, you know, at least the majority. And see how he's feeling. The energy obviously can change. So one day he might be upright, he might be in a good space, or worried, or not so worried, or thinking he's going to get away with it. I dare say his lawyers he's in touch with his lawyers. But like, is he wondering that he's going to get that knock on the door? I also found out that they did buy their house only a couple of years earlier. So the readings that where I got, did they move recently to the house, seem to be valid. I also wonder if this area was previously searched. Remember in my reading, I also got the significance of sunset time until sunrise. That is the most significant time in this case. Why I don't feel he is worried, but do you know, he's the type of person that if, for example, they said they're going back to search certain areas on certain days, he's the type of person who's going to turn up. Like, he'd need to be in there, he'd need to know what's happening. And obviously if you have knowledge, guilty knowledge, or hands in, you would want to remain up to date or ahead so that you can, you know, just focus on your steps. 8 of Cups in reverse. Ace of Wands that could be in reverse. 4 of Wands. King of Swords. 10 of Swords. This is the more of the energy that should have been around the appeal. The other thing that I heard that I felt was really, really weird. Told to look at the bottom of the deck, the Star, the Healing. I've not finished pulling though, but if anyone knows her date of birth, can you let me know what her date of birth is? That would be interesting to know. The other thing that I found weird is I heard that his girlfriend, I don't know if this is a current one or he had a girlfriend afterwards. Did he have a girlfriend more or less afterwards? Afterwards being, let's say, within the first 3 months. I think he might have. Okay, I'll ask that separately where I can ask time frame. But the energy there, what I was seeing with the 7 of Wands and the 6 of Swords, just for me to explain in case you're saying why I'm saying I'll ask the question and shuffle properly, is because there is a moving away from it. There's a moving away from, so there is a potential that he could have got to know someone. But there's something about girlfriend, and she wears Suzanne's jewelry, or she did wear Suzanne's jewelry. Obviously, these are allegations that are not proven, but I just find that extremely weird. Regardless, if it's a case like this or in an everyday to-day life. I just cannot imagine me dating someone and then wearing his girlfriend or his wife's jewelry. That is an absolute no-no for me. And not just because I'm into energy, but who would do that? It's just really, really weird. Unless it's someone who's really insecure. But I mean, even if it's like rich jewelry, you just don't do it, do you? I just feel like it's really weird. Here we've got 8 of Cups. This is actually not moving past. But it's interesting, there's mixed energy here. So in one essence, there's like 8 of Cups, Ace of Wands, 4 of Wands. Again, there's a new chapter around a home. Did he leave? Did he buy a new home? There is something that's happening around some sort of new celebratory news that's really weird. But when we join it with the 8 of Cups, which I'm going to do, which is in reverse, and we've also got the King of Swords in reverse here. This is really about walking away, but then regretting your choice. And to a certain extent, feeling stuck in your current reality. A little bit of escapism. And then we've got the King of Swords in reverse, and that's not a good energy in reverse. So when we look at the King of Swords in reverse here, we've got the manipulation and the manipulation of the betrayal. And it's funny, when I pulled that out, I was thinking, okay, this is the 10 of Swords that I was mentioning in the appeal, but kind of the energy that should have been in the appeal. But I was reminded, focus less on it being Barry's energy, but focus that this is actually Suzanne. And it makes sense because this is someone who is, you know, the manipulation, conceit, and trying to show off your intelligence, etc., which led to the betrayal of Suzanne. And I think this is just confirming again the connection there. There's also with these energies and the Patience and the Ace of Swords, and we did have the Star card at the bottom of the deck. I want to pull a couple of more cards because here there could be, when we see this like this, it's a cold energy, but there's something here in his home that's celebratory. I don't know if it's around his girls and a new chapter around the girls, because there's 2 girls, isn't there? The 9 of Swords in reverse, it's not good. It's anxiety, a little bit of sleepless nights. To me, it looks like there's going to be some more information coming out very soon. Okay, and that information is going to cause a bit of more upheaval in his energy. A 9 of Swords here, it's not a good energy in reverse, and upright is not very good either. But that new communication, can you remember how I said he's going to want to be at the place or up to date, because there's paranoia here. When I see these cards, there's paranoia. There's going to be paranoia triggered around some new communication that comes out. And he's probably going to have some inner turmoil and not able to think clearly. At the moment, he's not able to think clearly on certain days. It's interesting, these 2 cards that then jumble the energy. So what is happening? I don't know if it's the daughter's birthday, someone's birthday. There's a new chapter here. Maybe this is the girlfriend he's dating now. Has he moved to a new home recently? And so that's still in the energy. By recently, I don't mean within like more than 6 months or so, because by that time you kind of got used to it. But there is some sort of celebration here. And the Star card is the healing card that we get told to look at the bottom of the deck. We've got here the Hierophant, the marriage, the Devil card, and the Lovers. They were not getting along, you know, the energy of not getting along. The marriage has been broken down. I don't know why this is coming into his current energy, but this is around, obviously there was paranoia around things not working out for them, all right? And here we have this energy that took over him, and he made some wrong choices. And we can see this is just telling us a bit more of the story. And maybe this is Suzanne coming through right now. When, you know, I looked at this and Spirit was like, focus more on who you see in the picture. It's Suzanne's energy. And then we've got the Queen of Swords in the reverse, and the Hermit, again, very cold, calculated. energy here with the Queen of Swords. Something also about the significance of the Hermit card could be of a Virgo energy being significant here. And the Queen of Swords, this is very cold energy, you know, this is cold energy. It's, you know, cold communication, and it could be bitterness, aloofness, and I think it's around the old home and around the marriage and stuff like that. I also am getting that he gets really, really haunted at night, as opposed to during the day. His energy is a lot better than at night. At night, his energy, that's when the paranoia, the stress and anxiety, but there's going to be some new communication that comes through that triggers the paranoia a little bit more. Is he working at the moment, by the way? So here we've got the Justice in balance, but this is about, this is not only about his energy, this is relating to this Ace of Wands and the Four of Wands, which is the isolated energy that I was getting. So what we have here is also the significance of the Tower in reverse. The Tower in reverse is like a refusing of the change and avoiding the disaster. We've got Four of Wands and Four of Pentacles, really holding on to a narrative, holding on to, I'm even getting the narrative of what they're going to come in as defense. Denying the truth. But again, it's supposed to be around this. So I wonder if this is telling me this is how he feels after he's actually spoken to his lawyers. He feels more imbalanced and he feels more in control with the narrative. But there is kind of like, I don't know if it's a birthday celebration, like I said, there is something that would have been celebrating. And apart from that, we can see how the energy, a lot of, again, night is very significant to the way he feels, like he just wants to, I think the energy is too extreme for him at night. Very extreme. We've got 18, 1 and 8, 9 and 9. So we've got 9s here. Okay, very significant when coming to ends of chapters. And here, this is where I say, you know, it's kind of like the energy where he's haunted, as if he just wants to run away from it all. 9 of Pentacles, interesting. Look at that. Another 9. Another 9 on the deck. And again, we see the daytime, him feeling a little bit better. I don't know why I continue to shuffle, but it's the World card. I mean, it's about the chapter and the ends and stuff like that. So the other things that I do want to go through, which probably will be in the next one. What's interesting, and that's just come through now, but another thing that I wanted to go through, because I think there is energy there that might have helped him indirectly or directly. This pink balaclava or pink glove that was found, was it found with her clothes? It was found with her remains, I think. Now we want to know, was that planted? Because it's a significant colour again, isn't it? It's a significant colour to try and show maybe it was a divine feminine. Or was this glove part of like someone else's? I don't know where this area is. I just feel like it might be, it's secluded. You guys are going to know. Is there a cemetery near or far away or something like that? And so could rubble of different people and even animals that, you know, in that area could have been mixed with her stuff. I think I want to dive into the glove a little bit more. Again, if you want me to run through the affidavits, I don't know why I'm getting the name George. George, who's George? Is there a George in this? Well, yeah, a very difficult rail to tractor bike up that rail. Oh, that's the other thing I wanted to ask. To me, I think if you're going on long trails, even if it's near the house, sometimes if you're going in a different route, or sometimes you might take your car, right? When it's difficult rails, I understand rails. I understand that when something's near your house and you can just bike around, get out, you would take your bike directly. But I wonder, just to think, there was no shoes found with her. There was no water flask near the bike, on the bike with her. There's been no water flask found. There's been no shoes found. Again, and now I'm being brought by Spirit telling me, you know, it's likely that she was stripped of her clothes and those clothes were just planted next to her, as opposed to, or she was put in those clothes. They weren't the clothes that she actually was in when she passed away. So we've got that as well coming through. Let's just see, most of the time, would she take her bike in her car and go, or would it be the bike? I'm looking for Major Arcana. There we go, the Strength card. That's what I was thinking. I wanted a daylight one because of the biking. It's definitely her energy. So normally she's likely to take the car if she's going on a trail bike ride. I think sometimes she might just not take the car, but we've got two confirmations here, right? And it's interesting, these cards actually speak of it. The lover put to rest, needing the strength. I mean, that just kind of sums up a little bit of the story, doesn't it? Very interesting. We've also got all even numbers here. This is also an end, okay? This is where you're laid to rest. And number 4 is very significant. Again, I mean, it's all coming through, but she'd take her car, which is interesting. And so I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please do like. Let me know if you want the next part. And I will see you hopefully in the next part. Look out for the other content and take care of yourselves, and bye for now.